Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of Healthy Living with the Laws. So we're now in 2021. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. Happens every year.
It does. But I feel very much like I missed Christmas this year. How?
Yeah, it didn't really feel like Christmas, did it?
Doesn't really feel like
Don't sing.
Christmas at all. Just showing my talents. Don't you sing? So yeah, it was an interesting one, wasn't it?
It was an odd one, wasn't it?
How did you find Christmas?
It was okay, we cooked.
We did. I even forgot that. It was our first ever Christmas that we hosted. It was stressful, wasn't it? I can see now why my mum gets stressed. Because it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle, isn't there?
It's a lot of timing.
A lot of things going on at once. We're not used to cooking for loads of people.
But thankfully, I mean, in our favour, lockdowns kind of helped that because it meant that, you know, there wasn't loads of people.
Well, no.
It would have
There's
been
only 6 of us, wasn't there? Which is
5.
probably a blessing.
5 and a child.
It was going to be 12, which would have been horrendous.
Yeah, now looking back, that would
have been scary.
That was a bit over ambitious. I was all up for it, and now I'm glad that.
Yeah,
didn't really
6 was enough for a starter. But it went well, I feel.
I think it went well. We've still got lots of leftovers that we're
Still got loads of turkey.
So much turkey. Thank you, Riverford, for our beautiful beast of a bird.
Yeah, it turned out well, really, didn't it? The bird.
The bird
stayed
worked well.
quite moist.
I made some
as turkeys go.
Yorkshire puddings, didn't I? That were alternative. Made
gram flour.
Gram flour, which is chickpea flour, and they would have been good, but I got a bit overzealous with the old oil in the little what are they called? Trays.
The oil in the trays.
So they were a little bit
mushy in the bottom.
A bit greasy
in the bottom.
Yeah. But if it wasn't for that, they would have been good. So if anyone wants my Yorkshire pud recipe, which is gluten-free, then pop me a little message and I'll send it over to you. It's very simple.
Goose fat roast potatoes.
Goose fat roast potatoes. Boom.
Carrots, parsnips.
The whole shebang, basically.
Every vegetable in the world. Bone broth gravy.
Yeah, that was good.
Best bone broth from Amazon. Yeah. Very good.
I mean, there's loads of that left as well. We didn't even get round to the Christmas pud.
Nah, everyone was stuffed, weren't they? They didn't really want Christmas pud.
And then we danced in the evening. That was it. Well, I didn't. I did. You didn't.
I didn't. What do you mean I did?
You didn't. I did.
Yes.
I danced.
I didn't dance.
I played party games with my niece. You watched in awe of my moves.
I did.
You loved my moves, didn't you?
They were impressive.
Yeah.
I have to admit.
My performing background coming out again. Any New Year's resolutions for you, Mr. Law?
Not really.
Thanks for that.
I don't really do resolutions.
Do you know what? I've got one that you could have. Learn to cut your hair properly so you don't have like little hairs behind your ear.
I always cut my own hair.
So if anyone's watching the YouTube, you can, well, you can't really see it, it's a bit far away.
It's very hard to cut your own hair.
Well, yeah. But there is a little bit behind Ben's ear.
Yeah, I left it on purpose.
Where he's got like 3 long hairs and that's all I can see.
I've got a resolution.
What is it?
Go to bed earlier.
Yes.
That's always been a big thing for us, hasn't it?
Yes, that's one of mine too. So if we both make the resolution, then we can make the resolution happen.
I mean, we've said it a million times and never done it.
Yeah, but this is the year.
This is the one thing we're quite bad at. This is the year.
This is the year. This is what everyone says. This is the year. This is the year I'm getting healthy. This is the year I'm losing weight. This is the year I take up exercise.
I think this is the year we're going to go to bed early.
This is, because I've had enough of saying this is the year. And I've made myself angry.
It's funny, like, I've got lots of things dialed in, I feel, but just going to bed early is just...
Yeah, we've got the morning routine down.
Yeah.
But the problem is, because we don't go to bed early enough, we don't get up early enough.
But, you know, people, there's different chronotypes, isn't there? I'm a bear.
Ben the bear? I thought you were a badger.
Badger's my nickname.
Okay, but
I'm
you're
not
a bear.
Badger chronotype. I'm a bear. I did the test the other day online.
What would I be, do you reckon?
I think you're a bear as well.
Am I?
They work later, basically.
Yeah.
You're more productive later, which I feel I am.
But I want to be a morning person. I don't want to be a bear.
You're fighting against your biology.
Well, I'm going to fight it more because I want to be a morning person.
I want to be a morning person. I was getting good at the end of last year. I was getting up at 6:30.
Yeah. But there are people who get up where, I mean...
I know, I want to get up at
does-
like 4 or 5.
Who is it who gets
Tom
up at-
Billieu gets
Tom
up
Billieu.
at like 3 sometimes. I think.
Three.
That's
I
a
mean,
bit
for me,
excessive.
that's still the middle of the night, to be honest. And it's not like we go
He
to bed
goes to the gym,
stupid
but
late.
he works out at like 4 in the morning.
Yeah. It's not, the only time I do that is when we go to Maui. But that's purely because
Jet lag, that's
I'm
called.
so screwed up, yeah. I don't know what time it is. But it's not like we go to bed silly late, but we just have not...
Well, we probably do compared to most people. Like lights out at like 11:30,
11:30, yeah. But it's...
which is pretty bad.
Again, it's because we work late
Yeah.
because we get
Work
in the
till like
zone,
8
don't we?
o'clock.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm most productive between 6 and 8.
Me
It's
too.
annoying.
And then we'll sit down and cook, and then it'll be like 8:30 before we eat.
Yeah, eating too late as well, which is another biggie.
Yeah, and then we switch off, and then the habit is again like a bit of downtime, scroll on the phone. That is something that I absolutely am.
Yeah, late night
Over.
scrolling,
Yeah,
not good. Always
not
wear the
good.
blue light blockers, but
yeah,
even so,
yeah. So for those of you who have a bit of a scroll hole habit,
scroll hole.
yeah, the scroll hole. Obviously, it's something you want to sort out because it's not productive and it's not helpful for you. But put blue light blocking glasses on as well, because the blue light from devices or even from lights and things stops your melatonin production, and melatonin is your sleep hormone, so it will really disrupt your sleep and your
Yeah.
circadian rhythm, won't it?
I use Iris on the phone as well, which is a
Yeah.
blue light blocker.
Yeah. But yeah, it's blue light from everywhere because we get it.
Yeah, from
everywhere,
lights
don't we?
and from everything.
Okay, so going to bed early is the resolution.
Yeah, health-wise, I guess.
Yeah.
Can't really think of anything else. I know. How about you?
So that was it. That was actually number one, was bedtime routine nailed. No scrolling on the phone, and just getting that bedtime routine sorted so we can be in bed earlier, because I really want to get up early, because I do have the most energy in the morning, definitely. Like my energy for doing stuff and my brain is so much better. And then my second is just structure, really structure my time, because I think when you work from home, it's like the lines get really blurred. So it's really easy for everything to just kind of roll into one. So it's like
Yeah.
you work at home, you eat at home, we train at home. I mean, we have no choice right now other than to be at home.
Everything at home. Well, everyone
Everything's
does at
at
home, I
home.
guess.
But it's really easy for everything to just become a mush of one, a mush. So
So we have to be quite self-disciplined, don't you?
yeah,
In
so
structure your
I
day.
am absolutely nailing the structure, because then I know for me it's going to allow me, because the reality is with my business I can run my business in a few hours a day, and so then that gives me more time to focus on other things I want to do, like create a website and stuff like that. So I know if I structure my days better, I'll be able to get all that stuff done and feel accomplished at the end of it, which is a big tick for me, is like how you feel about yourself
Yeah,
at the end
definitely.
of the day. But also having downtime and being able to switch off and be really present in everything you do. So it's like when you're sitting eating dinner, you're eating dinner, you're not on your phone trying to do
Yeah.
something. So for me, that is absolutely the number one. And I mean, we've both got big goals for this year, haven't we? So it's
Always big goals.
with big goals, you need big structure.
Is that your
And
motto?
big balls.
Beg your pardon?
So have
You
you
need
got
big balls?
You need big balls. Have you got a word for the year?
A word for the year.
Yeah.
Focus.
Oh, that was mine. You stole it.
Productivity.
Productivity is a good one.
I like to maximise my productivity.
Yeah.
That's 2 words, but
No, that was way more than 2 words. How many was that? I can't even count.
maximise productivity. 2
You said
words.
maximise my. I would like to maximise
Yeah, but
my.
I just put it into a sentence.
Okay.
Like the English language.
Use the word productivity then.
Productivity. There you go.
Yeah.
Structure, maybe another word.
I think just stick with the one. I've got 2 though, to be fair.
Go on then.
Focus, which you stole from me, but now
I did.
yours has changed, so that's all good. And my other one is joy, because I've learned a lot over my life, my 40 years almost, that when I get into like the zone of really being like to make things happen, a lot of the time actually less happens because I'm like forcing it.
Yeah.
So it has to come from a good energy space. So it's like I just want to make sure that everything I do comes from a place of absolute joy and fun.
Yeah.
And I think because obviously 2020 was a bit of a write-off with fun in a lot of ways. And I spent I spent the whole year on prep as well. So it was like lockdowns and prep meant there wasn't much room for joy. well, there was, like, obviously, it wasn't
No
hell.
more room for joy.
But it was like, you know, there wasn't the opportunities to go out for dinner or go for a drink together and
yeah.
just do fun things. So it was like,
Well, we went to Ibiza for 6 weeks. That was
yeah,
fun.
but I was on prep again.
Yeah, true.
And I wasn't very well, so it was like, brilliant. But yeah, this year, obviously moving to Ibiza in May,
Yeah.
that's going to be huge. And I just want it to be filled with joy.
But when it is, you focus more on joy, you're not forcing it,
Yeah, everything
and
happens.
everything kind of happens anyway when you kind of let
Totally.
go.
It's because
let
your
it go.
energy. Let it go. Oh, I've got to stop singing. Your energy is in a really good place, and for those of you that are into law of attraction and energy, I mean, everything in life is made of energy. So it's like when you're vibrating at a certain level, you attract what you want much quicker. So it's like, I know that whenever I'm in that state of like, oh, this has got to happen, my energy is just dipped, and so then the things I want don't actually come to me. But as soon as I raise my vibes, it's like, and I just let go and I trust that it's all going to happen. If I take the action steps but do it from an absolute place of joy, it all happens. So it's a really big lesson. It was a big lesson that I learned in my business, actually, was having that focus and doing what I needed to do, but from a place of trusting and knowing and not gripping and pushing and just doing
Just
it.
knowing it was going to happen.
Yeah, and being in love with all parts of it, like the journey and.
That's the thing, isn't it? You got to love the journey.
Yeah, because it's the biggest part.
Exactly. If you don't love that, then you're always trying to like live in the future, aren't you? Just trying to. Yeah, you're not loving the present.
Yeah.
Which you suffer from. I think, quite a bit.
Thank you.
Same here. I do. Too.
Yeah,
Always
it's,
looking
I
at
think it's
the
when you've got big
next
goals
thing.
and aspirations, you're always looking for the next thing and you're always wanting more, which is not a bad thing to want those things, but also you've got to be happy in the moment and joyful in every area of the journey, because if not, then
Mindful, isn't it? Mindfulness.
yeah, exactly. So that leads us on really to talking about the whole New Year, New You bollocks. And your thoughts on that. So, obviously, January, it's a great time for people to kind of clean slate, hit the refresh. Everyone starts the year going, yes, that's it, this is the year, like we did, with the bedtime routine.
New year, new me.
Yeah, new year, new me, new goals, get back on the diet, all things like that. So what are your thoughts on New Year, New Me? Would you like a new me?
Yeah, it's well, like you said, it is good to have that reset, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I think there's two sides to it.
Yeah, but just being too extreme with it and just trying to change too many things at once and thinking you're going to become this brand new person come January the 1st, and yeah, maybe being too ambitious and wanting to change too much.
Yeah, in one go, and not being prepared to wait to see the results. And the reality is, like, the 1st of January is just another day. It's just another day, isn't it? So it's like, you want to create consistency in your life and a new habit. So, like Ben said, like, it is about having a bit of a reset and a refresh. And I love that beginning of a year because it does just feel like a complete clean slate where you can be like, right, okay, this is it. I'm going to make some changes. But the problem that most people make is, like you said, they go all in extreme and do lots of silly things that are just not sustainable. So they're like, right, I'm going to exercise every day for 2 hours. I'm going to eat lettuce leaves. And then it's like you get halfway through January or to February.
Well, that's why the gyms are packed, aren't they, in January?
Not this year, but...
Not this year, obviously.
Normally.
Yeah, normally.
Yeah, it's like the January rush, and by February, people have got these memberships and they don't even show up.
They don't even go.
So the reasons I always say to people like a reset is good is gut health, firstly, is everything. And obviously, over the festive period, our little guts, that are little but very mighty, take a massive battering from eating lots of foods that probably aren't doing our guts that much good, drinking alcohol, doing lots of things that basically can disrupt the gut. And
probably not sleeping that well.
Yeah, not sleeping that well, more stress.
Stress?
Well, yeah.
For Christmas?
Yeah, even though it might not feel like a normal kind of stress because it's like fun time, party mode, it's still like if you're not sleeping well, you're not eating great foods, all those things can act as a stress in your body. And when those things act as a stress in your body,
Yeah.
that massively impacts the gut. So as soon as you have stress, like too much stress, so there's different types of stress. A bit of stress is good because it causes a hormonal response. Acute stress, yeah. A hormonal.
Eustress.
What?
Eustress.
Eustress?
Yeah,
Me?
that's a term. Not
Eustress.
you.
Eustress?
That's a
I'm
word.
stressed, what?
Look it up.
I'm going to look it up. Eustress.
Well,
Eustress.
it's like a good form of stress.
Okay, like acute stress. So like a shock stress, like a short-term stressor, can be good for your hormones and the hormonal response of your body. But for most people, they have low-level stress underlying.
Yeah, chronic.
Chronic stress, yeah. And basically, that massively depletes nutrition out of the body, depletes vitamins and minerals, and it also can cause absolute havoc with your gut. So when you look at people that suffer with IBS, which I just think is a term that the doctors give people for saying, we don't know what's going on, it often is exacerbated by stress, and that's because it just wreaks havoc on the gut. It can cause issues with your gut lining and cause kind of gaps in the gut lining, which then undigested proteins can escape through, and that causes leaky gut, which can cause inflammatory responses in the body and autoimmune conditions and a massive immune response going on in the body. And then if people over the Christmas period have been eating a lot of foods that cause that bit of disruption to the gut, like gluten and dairy and soy and loads of alcohol and artificial foods and processed foods, which again most of us do over the Christmas period, all of those things can disrupt how the gut functions. And I always say to people, your gut is like a garden. So if you think about a nice garden, I mean, we've got artificial grass, so we can't really talk much about gardening. But if we did have a nice garden, what you want in your garden is lots of diverse, beautiful flowers and not loads of weeds. But what happens is if you're eating loads of foods that cause that disruption to your gut, what ends up happening is you have far too many weeds and not enough different species of beautiful flowers. So the species of beautiful flowers are your good bacteria in the gut, and the weeds are the bad bacteria. So what you end up with is like this overgrowth of bad bacteria, not enough diverse good bacteria, which is so important for every aspect of your health. They produce vitamins and minerals for you, they help you break down your food, they help with hormonal responses, they do so much in the body. So when we kind of disrupt that, then that can show up in so many other parts of our health, can't it? Like your skin,
your gut's linked to so many
to everything,
areas, isn't it?
Everything.
Brain health.
Brain, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting thing for you. So, what often happens when people have an intolerance to food, so let's say, for example, someone has an intolerance to gluten, when they do, they normally end up craving what they're intolerant to. Do you know why?
I do not.
I'm going to tell you. So, the reason for that is because when you're intolerant to something, the theory is that when you eat it, it causes a rise in your blood sugar. And when that happens, that's like a natural high. So if you think about it, when you have a big load of sugar and you get that big like high from eating sugar, it's, you know, like when you see kids bouncing off the walls at Christmas, prime example, eating loads of sugar and chocolate and then bouncing off the walls, it's like that natural high. So when you eat a food that your body doesn't necessarily like very much, it causes that blood sugar rise really quickly, which is like a natural high.
Right, yeah.
Which is why you end up craving it.
Makes
Isn't
sense.
that interesting?
It is.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons we say about like doing a bit of a reset is just getting your gut back into good working order and also supporting your detoxification organs. Now, I am not a fan of what people call detoxes because for the average person, they don't know how to do it in a healthy way. And what I often see is people do like big juice cleanses or things that make them shit their pants, basically. Never ideal. And they can actually be more damaging than...
too extreme.
Yeah, beneficial. They're extreme.
Lacking
And
nutrients.
yeah, and also, if your body is quite toxic, what happens is when in your liver you have two pathways. So the first phase is like it breaks down the toxins, and in the second phase it packages them up to take them out of the body. So when people do detoxes and they don't really know how to do them properly, now if you're going to do one, do it with someone who can guide you through it. But what often happens is when people do detoxes and they don't know how to do them properly, they end up doing a detox, and when they're detoxing their body, basically what happens is when you break down those toxins in your body, the metabolites from them are more toxic than the original toxin. And then it's phase 2 that packages up those toxins and takes them out. And a lot of the time what happens is people speed up that first phase, so they're getting actually more toxins than they originally had, but phase 2 isn't as good, is a bit sluggish. So then they're not able to package them up properly to take them out of the body. Mm-hmm. So that's why people feel crap a lot of the time when they do detoxes, because it's literally like they're just making their body more toxic in the first place. Mm. So it's about supporting, like your body is clever. It's got detoxification organs that do that for you. They're there to detox your body. But again, the problem is if we overload them, they're overworked and they can't work sufficiently. So if you can support those organs better, like your liver, your lungs, your kidneys, your skin, those things, if you support them well, then you can help them do their job properly, which means they can get toxins out of the body much better.
How do you do that?
The way to do that would be lighten your toxic load. So don't put so many things in that are going to be toxic to the body. So if you think about foods that are highly processed and artificial and packaged, a lot of the time are going to be full of toxins and crap.
Yeah.
Think about what you're putting onto your skin as well. That's a big one. Like, people forget about the fact that every day you're putting thousands of chemicals onto your body.
Yeah.
And some of those chemicals have the ability to absorb through the skin.
Most skincare products are full of crap, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So you need to look at your labels, and so it's about lightening the toxic load. Also think about cooking utensils and plastics.
Your environment, your cleaning products.
Yeah, cleaning products, massive one. I mean, we have a cleaner, she's amazing, but when we come in the house after she's cleaned and we're like, wow, the perfume is...
We need to buy us some.
Yeah, we're going to get a...
perfume free.
Yeah, the Ecova and all the ones that we normally use if we were to clean ourselves, but we don't.
If we need to clean ourselves?
No, not with that. That would be a bit weird.
That sounded weird.
But yeah, so it's cleaning products, things that you put in plastic tubs and packages. Like
plastic containers are biggie, aren't they?
Yeah, how many people...
Microwave in plastic.
Yeah, put things in plastic containers and then put it in a microwave. I'm like, do not do that. It's full of toxins.
Cheap plastic as well.
Yeah, just going into your food and then you're consuming it, and they act as hormone disruptors. Not good, and that's just more toxins that you're basically putting in.
Even tinned stuff, isn't it? Like
yeah, tins have a BPA lining in them.
Tomatoes, very acidic, so tinned tomatoes are a bad one.
Yeah, get glass jars, basically. And then thinking, how can you support your detoxification organs? So giving your liver the nutrients it needs, like B vitamins and choline and all these things that support the liver. Greens, like that's why I have a greens powder every day, and I know you do as well. Like, all the greens are so good for liver health. Support your skin by dry body brushing and sweating as well, because sweating through your skin is going to release toxins.
Which I'm good at.
You're great at sweating. I'm not so good.
I'm so good at sweating.
You are sweaty. Breathing properly. Again, it sounds so simple, but a lot of people don't breathe. Like,
breathing's a massive one.
I mean,
like
I didn't.
Nasal breathing.
I didn't used to breathe, did I?
You don't breathe, no.
When we went, I've got to tell this story because it's a brilliant one. So we went scuba diving in Thailand quite a long time ago, wasn't it? And in the swimming pool, I was great. I mean, you would have thought I was a dolphin the way I scuba dived. Not that they scuba dive, but... so when we went into the ocean, the instructor thought I was going to be amazing. And as soon as we got in the ocean, I was like...
You shoot yourself.
Basically, yeah, this is not for me. I hated every single second of it. I was like an absolute wreck. And we came up from, like, being under the sea. There's another song there.
No. But you didn't breathe, did you? That's the thing.
Well, no.
Hardly used any oxygen.
No, we came up from being in the ocean and got back on the boat. And the reason we'd come up was because the instructor had completely run out of air. And we got back on the boat and I'd used like not even a quarter of my tank. And he was like...
Yeah, it's like, how do you...
he was like, I've never met anyone who literally hated scuba diving that much and panicked as much as you did that literally didn't breathe. And I think that was it. I just don't think I took a breath the whole time I was down there. I was like, well, no breathing.
How did we get onto this?
I can't even remember.
Detoxing. Through breathing. But nasal breathing is a biggie, isn't it?
Nasal
a lot of people
breathing.
like mouth breathe, but your nose
filters out. You're like Darth Vader.
Your nose filters out a lot of toxins. Well, I used to taped my mouth while I sleep. Didn't I?
Did, but that it's not kinky, I promise. The reason he did is because he was
mouth taping
snoring.
is a thing. It wasn't because I was snoring.
You
Because I
were.
wanted to nasal breathe all night because it helps with your sleep.
Well, yeah, but you did snore as well, which you don't anymore. Which I'm
But I
very
do use a
happy
rubber mouthpiece now. That's
Sounds
even
even
worse.
with. It's going downhill.
Wow.
Oh, bet you want to listen to the next episode.
But yeah, a lot of people mouth breathe, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is, your nose filters out a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Basically, isn't it?
I mean, I'm good. I've got a big nose to filter things through.
I don't.
You've got a very squashed nose, so
Thanks.
you've not got much room. And then hot and cold showers can be another one because
Yeah.
stimulating your lymphatic system
Yeah.
is brilliant. So your lymphatic system, it runs like next to your circulatory system, but it doesn't have any kind of pump, and that's what helps remove toxins out of the body. And so you need to kind of stimulate it. So dry body brushing, like I mentioned, can help stimulate it, and also hot and cold showers where you start hot, turn it like freezing cold, proper cold. Don't be a pussy and do it like lukewarm cold. It's got to be cold.
Yeah.
Can really stimulate the lymphatic system and help remove
Well, we
toxins
do that
from the
every
body.
day, don't we?
Every day.
And with a couple of minutes,
Cold.
ice cold on the back of the neck.
It's so good. It feels like you'll hate it to
Gives
begin
you
with,
energy, doesn't it?
but when once you get used to doing it and it becomes a habit, it's amazing. I love it. I'm a little bit obsessed. Okay, so what can people do then in January to kick in some healthy habits and make those shifts that they need to make without doing the crazy stuff? What would you say?
I don't know.
Oh, that's really helpful. Sure.
But again, it's like we said, it's about forming habits, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the key.
Totally.
If it's not a habit, then you're not gonna be able to sustain it
Exactly.
every day.
Yeah, and it needs to be a lifestyle. Healthy has to become a lifestyle, and what I see is people.
The fad diets.
Yeah, exactly. The shake diets or the fads. Oh yeah, I can't even say it. Can you say it?
Veganuary.
That's really hard to say. Veganuary, which, if you want to do it, but you need to learn how to do it properly. And what I see is people do Veganuary, and
Eat,
they
pasta and cheese.
pasta, rice. They can't eat cheese.
Of course, vegan. Fake cheese.
Fake cheese.
That's what
But
I mean.
fake food. They end up eating just loads of fake food.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
Fake
do a
meat.
vegan diet very, very well for it to
But
work.
Yeah, to make sure you're covering all the bases and getting all the amino acids that you need and supporting your gut properly. So people go and do it badly and then they eat loads of fake food, loads of pasta, loads of bread, loads of carbs, and don't
Loads of
balance
carbs,
it
yeah.
out properly, which
I
is
guarantee they'll feel worse
Yeah.
after 30 days.
yeah. So it's doing it in a good way. You need support to do it well.
I just wouldn't do it.
Well, no, you would never do it. No, I know you wouldn't.
But people are doing it because they think it's massively healthy
Yeah.
when it's not.
If you're not doing it well, no. You're missing out on
Or
a lot
they think
of-
it's good for the environment when it's not.
Yeah.
That's another podcast entirely.
That is a completely other podcast about the environment that we can do.
But it's too extreme. You're going from one thing to completely opposite
This is it. Yeah.
diet, and you stick with it maybe for a month, 6 weeks, and you probably won't continue.
Yeah, and you have to be, if you're going to do it, you need to research properly and make sure you've got good recipes that are going to cover all the bases.
Yeah.
You've got people who can help you out. And I think that's one of the things, like I was going to say, starting by just thinking about balancing out your blood sugar. So starting by making sure that every single meal has, good proteins and fats that are going to be like your logs on a fire, and the good, complex carbs that are slow, steady burn rather than like, big spikes in your blood sugar can make
Definitely
a big
focus
difference.
on protein because people undereat protein
Yeah.
massively, which is obviously very hard on a vegan diet to get enough protein.
So, balancing out blood sugar, number one, and my tips that I give people to balance out blood sugar are exactly what I just said. So make sure that every meal has good fats, quality protein, and some complex carbs in there. So you could have like some sweet potato or some root veggies or some brown rice or
Yeah,
you're
but the carbs
slightly
are
different.
not essential. are they?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. So again, it's like what a lot of people will do is go, okay, I'm going to cut carbs.
Yeah,
And
well,
if
that's the
you're
thing.
not used to that, and
Well, keto is there's probably a lot of people who are going to go keto in January because it's very popular at the moment.
Yeah.
And they'll just go all in.
Cold turkey,
cut the carbs completely.
Yeah.
And it's kind of too
much.
And
again, if you don't know how to do keto well, what's psychologically it does as well is causes that like, I can't have this, I can't have that. And what happens when you do that a lot of the time is your brain goes, I want that.
Yeah.
And for women, and this is another podcast that we will do, is talking about different diet models. But for women, again, sometimes what can happen is if you do keto for too long, it can really disrupt your hormones. So for me, I kind of did, well, I don't know if it was really keto, but I did go lower carb and was doing too much high intensity exercise, and I completely screwed myself up, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't know if you didn't really get into keto properly as well, which is another.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of people
won't
don't do it
properly.
You don't do it for long enough to fully get into ketosis and make it like adaptation.
Yeah. And it may seem like when you first go and do a keto diet that you've lost loads of weight, but a lot of it in the first instance is water.
Yeah.
Because it carbs pull water into the body, basically.
So you're not fully getting into ketosis and you're just feeling shitty because you've got no energy.
Yeah.
You haven't converted to burning fat for your primary fuel source. So you're just low in energy because you haven't got the carbs.
Yeah, to fuel you. So rather than go extreme, do more of a balance where it's like...
You could do what I did and do the slow carb approach to begin with.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of talk about in a way, is like making sure that when people have carbs, they're ones that are not going to be like quick burn, and also you couple it with the fats and the protein so you don't get the spike in the blood sugar.
Yeah, so you're not having the white bread or bread at all.
Yeah, pasta,
even white rice. I do have white rice, but
just
kind of more the highly processed carbs. So more like sweet potatoes in general.
And the morning, like starting your day properly in the right way. So again, what a lot of people do is either have cereal or toast for breakfast, or again, some people...
a glass of orange juice.
Yeah, glass of orange juice. They're being healthy, they might have fruit and a glass of orange juice and a bit of toast, maybe whole meal toast, or nothing, because you think, right, I'm going to eat less. Which again, all you do is just massively disrupt your blood sugar. So it's better to have something where you're going to have some good proteins in there, some good fat. So that's why I'm a big fan of a smoothie. Like, a good smoothie in the morning for people who are really busy, don't really know where to start, can be beneficial. Or eggs. I love an egg.
I love an egg.
You love an egg. You nearly had a heart attack the other day. She nearly ran out of eggs.
Yeah, eggs are a staple.
They are a staple, but it's just getting that balance. So that's a good starting point. Give your gut a rest would be my next top tip. So remove things that are causing a lot of disruption to your gut. And again, it doesn't have to be massively extreme, and I think it's the mindset behind it. If you say to someone, stop eating bread, and they're like, oh my god, I can never eat bread again. And it's like, no,
One thing I think could be good to just completely cold turkey is alcohol for at least a month.
Yeah.
I think that's a good reset.
Yeah, definitely. And
the
also,
amount you consume obviously over Christmas and New Year.
I think also gluten, because so many people are so reliant on it, and it's like you don't know what it's doing to your body or how you feel until you remove it, and then you're like, oh my goodness,
it's one of
I'm
those,
not bloated all the time.
Where it can have a very mild effect.
Yeah.
And you just take for granted. You think it's normal, like the sluggishness, maybe just a dip in energy,
bit of brain fog,
You just accept as normal.
Yeah.
You're obviously not celiac, but you got this low level effect from it.
Yeah, exactly. And also because gluten is in so many processed foods and easy foods.
Examples of what is in, people probably don't even know.
Well, like if you buy biscuits and packet food, a lot of the time sauces it's like a thickening agent, so it's in a lot of sauces.
Obviously bread is a biggie.
Bread, yeah. But it's also like when people again start buying alternatives like fake sausages, and it'll often have wheat in there because it bulks it out.
Even normal sausages.
Normal sausages a lot of the time will have wheat in.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the packaged foods. And again, what that means is if you kind of take that out, it makes you go, okay, so what you're actually doing is getting rid of the packaged food. You're going back to real whole foods, which is the difference.
That is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I could give one bit of nutritional advice, it'd be
eat real food.
cut down. Just don't eat processed foods.
Yeah. Stop the processed.
You'd be in a hell of a. You'd be going a good way to being healthy.
Totally.
If you did that one thing.
It's the convenience, isn't it, that people need. So it's getting that balance between having convenience, but also understanding that the majority of your food should come from real
whole food, unprocessed, unpackaged.
And then the other things are like the icing on the cake. So like for me, a bit of protein powder is, the icing on the cake. That's the simple way of getting in some nutrient-dense proteins without... And again, it's important to look at the ingredients of what you're taking if you're having packet things.
But above that, I'd always focus on meat.
Yeah.
Meat is the most nutrient-dense protein. Just food in general.
Quality again is important.
Good quality meat and red meat. I mean, people avoid it like the plague, but it is the most nutritionally dense food there is.
Yeah. And it's working out what works for you at the end of the day. But I definitely think, like, if you're gonna do something, think, right, real whole foods as much as humanly possible. Like you said, do a reset by cutting out alcohol and cutting out gluten would be my two big ones.
Yeah. Don't cut out red meat.
Don't just go, right, I'm going to have gluten-free bread then, because that's not really fixing the problem.
The gluten-free foods are full of other rubbish.
Yeah, they're just processed most of the time. And also, psychologically, again, you need to think about those things. You're not creating a new habit by replacing something that's crap with an alternative that's just as crap, if that makes sense. There are some good ones out there, for sure, but again, you can make your own great things. Like, I make a bread out of buckwheat and gram flour, and it's really simple. It's just having some great recipes and great things that you can do and focusing on what you can, not what you can't. And I think that's the thing, again, a lot of people go extreme and then they go, right, I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have this, I can't have that. Mm-hmm. And then they can do that for a month and then they're like, phew, that month's over. Right, let's go back to how we were. And then they end up in an even worse position because then they've got this obsession with the things that they couldn't have. So it's about creating the shifts in lifestyle, which means not doing things that are going to cause a lot of deprivation.
Yeah, and you could possibly do the 80-20 rule as well, couldn't you?
Yeah.
90-10.
I think it definitely just
one
depends
meal a week you have some naughty stuff.
Yeah, and I think it depends on your personality. I think for some people, it's like they have trigger foods that if they have, I talked about this on my social media the other day, trigger tests, where if you have something, it's like you can't have one biscuit and be done. It's like you have one biscuit and it's the whole packet just gone. And if that's you, then you have to work on your mindset behind why that happens. But whilst you're working on that, I would recommend just getting rid of it completely, because it's like once you remove it, it's actually so much easier. And I definitely, you know what I'm like. I mean, I get obsessed with certain things quite easily. Yeah. I mean, I've overeaten on grapes before, which is ridiculous to think that. But I ate a whole bag, like one of those big kilo bags of grapes. I mean, it was not good news. I was in agony for days. I thought I was going to have to go to hospital because I couldn't move. But it's like there can be certain foods that for certain people can cause that. Yeah. That where you just can't, once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Type
but the more you get into this, the more you discover how to make things. Yeah. And you realise you can make stuff that's better than the processed treats anyway.
And then you have the processed treats and you're like,
oh, that's really sweet.
Well, that's what I always notice at Christmas now. I'm like so used to eating the way we eat, and I love like all our own foods that we make. Like we make our own muffins and chocolates and stuff like that, pancakes. And then if I have a normal bit of chocolate at Christmas, I'm like, that just tastes like plasticky crap.
Overly sweet.
Yeah, it's just not nice. It's like your taste buds start to adapt.
You never feel deprived, do you, in the way we eat?
Never.
It's like, I don't crave anything because I'm getting such good food when I eat.
Yeah. And also, the more you start to balance out your blood sugar and actually fuel your body, the less cravings you'll have anyway. When your body is being fed, it craves less. It's when it's not getting the nutrients that it needs that you crave more. So what happens if you're eating loads of processed stuff which is not really that nutrient dense, your body will crave more because it's like, I haven't actually been fed. It's not really getting what it needs.
It's craving the nutrients. You starve the nutrients, so it just wants to keep eating.
Yeah, it's basically being overfed and undernourished.
Yeah.
Which is what a huge proportion of people are because they're not eating foods that are actually giving them what they need.
It's like your taste change as well, doesn't it? You
Yeah,
stop eating
hugely.
sugar, you stop craving sugar, and then stuff
Yeah.
tastes mega sweet when you do have.
Yeah. And we're not saying that sugar is the absolute devil and you should never
Yes, we are.
touch.
It's the devil.
It's not. And you should never touch sugar ever again, because again, what then people do is go and have loads of artificial sweeteners and all these other things that are actually not that great. The real thing probably would have been better for them than the artificial stuff, but it's about balancing it out in the right way. So again, that you're not having that massive spike in blood sugar and you're not over consuming one thing at once. It's balance. It's all about balance.
Yeah. And like I said, just creating those habits. So
Yeah.
maybe just do one thing to begin with. Just cut out one food item.
Yeah. And again, work
Right.
out for yourself which is right for you. Like, I know some people are like, no, I just need to do I need a plan
Yeah.
that someone gives me that tells me have this, this and this, so that I can just create those habits. But again, make sure it's a plan that's sustainable and not silly, like, I won't say the words, but the shake one, where it's like, have a shake for breakfast, lunch and dinner and then a crappy bar. Like, that is not a diet, and that's why they don't work, because you end up eating crap
Yeah.
that is not full of good stuff, and you're not getting the fuel that you need. But some people need a structure and a plan to follow, and then other people are more like, do you know what, if I did something like that, all I would do is quit within a day, and it's not gonna give me the chance to transition, if that makes sense. So it's working out for yourself which works best, and then getting support
Good
on
one
it.
is just, I think it's just cutting out bread
That could be a big one, yeah.
to begin with.
Swap your bread, peeps. There
Like
you
I
go.
said before, is, you know, people, it's like a fallback food, isn't it? You always like, is there bread in the kitchen? You always have like toast for breakfast or
Sandwich for
sandwich.
lunch.
So many sandwiches, aren't there? For
It's
for lunch.
convenience.
It's just so
It's
convenient.
convenience.
Slap something in 2 bits of bread.
Yeah.
You just cut that out. You don't have that option until then. You just don't have that option. So you actually have to then
That
create
was
something.
and that was one of the reasons I went gluten free. I'm not intolerant to gluten. I've had tests done that show that I can tolerate it. But so for me, it's like, if I want a treat and I go out for dinner, then I'm not going to be overly like, oh my goodness, I cannot touch anything with gluten in. But my rule for myself is I don't really eat gluten, because then it stops me eating the crap that I would have probably eaten before. And having bread, because it's convenient, having crackers that are easy to eat and things like that. So it actually makes me more conscious about my choices, about what I eat, and making sure that I put the right things in. And I think education is such a big thing. The more you learn about food and about your body, the more you care about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You make better choices.
Education is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you learn the principles, you know, you learn why you're eating certain foods or why you're not eating certain foods.
Yeah.
Then you understand it more, and then you apply it more. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than someone just telling you.
Yeah, and I think if you can always question it, so it's thinking to yourself, like, if you're reaching for the biscuits, again, is this serving me or is it not? In the long term, is this going to serve me? And if you can have that kind of internal dialogue going in your mind, it makes you think different. Like, a book I read that made a huge difference was called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And he talks about the fact there's a success curve and a failure curve. And what you do once doesn't really make a huge difference, but what you do most matters. So if you keep doing the same things over and over, it will either put you on the success curve or put you on the failure curve. So like we were saying, you know, over Christmas, enjoy it. Like, it's there to be enjoyed. It's about eating and drinking and having fun. What you do most matters. So that little period of life is not going to make a huge difference if the rest of your life is about sustainable, healthy living. So it's like those slight edge decisions all the time. And that's why you need to decide if you're an all or nothing person or not. Like, if you can have one biscuit and go, do you know what? One's fine. I can have another one next week on my treat list. Then that's fine. But if you're the person that has one and then before you know it, it's 10, the whole packet's gone, and then it's like the diet starts Monday and you just keep repeating the cycle, then that's when you can have that conversation with yourself of, is this taking me towards where I want to be or not? And what is this actually doing to my insides? And the problem with human beings is that we fix what we see and we ignore what we don't see. And because we don't see what's happening inside, we don't know. So we don't really think of the consequences a lot of the time. We're kind of like, oh, I just ate a biscuit. There's nothing wrong with that. but it's like we don't see what it's actually doing. If you could see what things were doing to your insides, like let's say you could see into your gut and you could see what something was doing to your gut whilst you were eating it, like if something was punching holes in the side of your gut, you'd probably have a little bit more of a different attitude to eating it.
At least if you just understood what was happening, if you educated yourself and realised what was happening inside your gut when you ate that food.
Exactly. And it's not about being scared of it, you know, like we were saying, what you do most matters. So if you're not, say, celiac or you don't have an intolerance to gluten, you don't have to be completely fearful of like, I can never touch a bit of gluten ever again. But it's about the consciousness of how much of this am I having, how often, because what you do most matters. So, I think that's everything we wanted to share.
I guess there's exercise as well.
Oh yeah, exercise. And again, it's thinking, don't go mad.
Don't do CrossFit 6 times a week.
Yeah, don't go from
when you've never done it before. 0
to hero, which is what people do. They go, right, that's it.
Run 5 miles a day.
Yeah, like you're just going to screw yourself over, and your body won't be able to cope with it either. So your cortisol will probably go through the roof, which is your stress hormone, which will then wreck your gut, and you're just going to do more damage than good. So it can be small things.
Just half an hour a day or less.
Go for 4 10-minute walks. Just move more. Like just get more movement in general. Can be, and it depends again what your starting point is, doesn't it? Like some people who are listening, you might already be doing more, you understand more about how to.
But if you've never been to the gym or you're just not used to training and you go all in, you're not it's just the same principles again. Isn't it? You're not going to sustain it because
that's why people end up hating the gym.
Yeah.
Because it's like hell. They do that, go mad for January, and then they hate it. And I can say that from experience, like with competing, because it's, you spend a lot of time, not stupid amounts, but you do spend a lot of time working out, and there are days when you're like, God, this is tough, that it can get to the point where you're like, I hate the gym. And then it's that mental battle that is not good, rather than doing it because it's joyful. There's the word again, joy. Pure joy. But it's about finding things that you love rather than seeing it as a chore as well, I think.
Yeah, that's a biggie, isn't it? You've got to actually enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not going to stick to it.
Yeah, if it's something that you detest, you're not going to stick to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, not all exercise is always going to be fun, but you've got to find some element of fun in it, and for some people it's the...
I mean, there's so many varied forms nowadays, aren't there?
There's everything, isn't there?
That's what that dancey one, Zumba.
I love a bit of Zumba. Get me in a Zumba class and I am.
Myself, personally.
I would laugh if you... Honestly, I'd have the best ab workout ever if I saw you in a Zumba class. That's it, there's the New Year's resolution, get Ben in Zumba. Wiggle those hips.
Yeah. It's even I last year I went all in on bodybuilding. But I started to not like